Ah, the 1980s. A decade of big hair, neon colors, and a level of consumer optimism that bordered on the chemically induced. It was a time when food scientists, armed with new technologies and a seemingly endless budget for questionable ideas, decided to reinvent our pantries. We're about to fire up the flux capacitor and take a journey back to this wild culinary frontier. But be warned, this isn't a greatest hits compilation. Oh no, this is a deep dive into the forgotten, the ill-conceived, and the downright bizarre. For every home-run product that still graces our shelves today, there were dozens, nay, hundreds of spectacular strikeouts. These weren't just minor miscalculations, these were epic failures that crashed and burned with the intensity of a hair metal power ballad. The marketing was loud, the concepts were baffling, and the flavors, well, they were of their time. We are about to embark on a forensic investigation of 25 food flops from the 1980s. Tonight, we're going to resurrect them, one glorious failure at a time. This is the story of what happens when good food ideas go bad. Very, very bad. Let's begin with a question of liquid dynamics and flavor science. What happens when you take the very distinct, very artificial flavor of bubblegum, a confection designed explicitly not to be swallowed, and carbonate it? You get HUBBA BUBBA soda. It tasted exactly like chewed bubblegum, sweet, slightly medicinal, novel on the first sip, and bewildering by the third. The core issue, a fundamental misunderstanding of sensory experience. Bubblegum's joy comes from chewing and the loss of flavor that signals you to toss the wad. A soda is meant to quench thirst. HUBBA BUBBA created an unsolvable cognitive dissonance, like drinking a melted Jolly Rancher filtered through a wad of gum. The bubble, as it were, burst very, very quickly. The bubble burst very, very quickly. It was April 23, 1985, a day that will live in marketing infamy. The Coca-Cola Company, feeling pressure from the relentless Pepsi challenge, made a decision so monumental, they changed their 99-year-old formula. New Coke was born. Consumers preferred its sweeter, smoother profile. On paper, it was a data-driven, logical move. In reality, it was a public relations cataclysm. The company had severely underestimated one crucial, unquantifiable ingredient: nostalgia. Protest groups formed. Hotlines were flooded with thousands of angry calls. Loyalists began hoarding cases of the original formula. People felt betrayed. They poured New Coke down the drain. 79 days. That's all it took for the company to wave the white flag and bring back the original, now rebranded as Coca-Cola Classic. A classic indeed. The Cola Wars weren't just fought on taste. They were a battle for time. The morning. In 1989, PepsiCo looked at the morning beverage market, dominated by coffee and orange juice, and thought, we need a piece of that. It was regular Pepsi with about 28% more caffeine, a bubbly kickstart to your day. The American consumer wasn't ready to swap their morning ritual for a cold, sugary cola. Health trends and the idea of starting the day with that much sugar doomed the concept. Pepsi AM was gone within a year. Enter Gerber singles, pureed adult flavors like beef burgundy or creamed beef, sold in the same small glass jars as baby food. The association with baby food was inescapable and deeply unappetizing. Comedians had a field day. Gerber singles became a punchline. You can't just slap a new label on a product and expect people to ignore decades of ingrained association. In the fast food arms race, McDonald's unveiled the McDLT in 1984, a dual-chamber styrofoam marvel. The McDLT used a dual-chambered styrofoam container to keep hot and cool parts separate, keep the hot side hot and the cool side cool. But it forced customers to assemble their own burger and created enormous styrofoam waste, an environmental liability as activism grew. Imagine a chip promising all the flavor and crunch with none of the fat. Enter Olestra and the Wow line. Olestra was a large synthetic fat molecule that passed through the body undigested, and that caused problems. The FDA required a warning. Olestra may cause abdominal cramping and loose stools. Not the most appetizing slogan. Despite initial interest, reports of unpleasant side effects and the associated ick factor doomed the Wow chips. People decided they'd rather have the fat than the, well, you know. The early 90s brought the clear craze. Crystal Pepsi. Clear cola looked like sparkling water but tasted like Pepsi. A confusing sensory mismatch. Next, Jell-O Pudding Pops, a hit that later met profitability problems. Despite a huge marketing push, even a Van Halen Super Bowl spot, novelty wore off and buyers drifted away. Coca-Cola's Tab Clear further muddied the waters. People started grouping all clear colas as diet drinks. Jell-O pudding pops were creamy, delicious, and by the mid-80s generated over $300 million a year. But manufacturing and distribution costs for frozen novelties were high. Profitability killed them off. Pizza spins, a charming pinwheel snack, likely fell victim to competition and texture expectations. The snack market is brutal. Being good isn't always enough. Ranch went everywhere, including chips. Hidden Valley Ranch Wavy LAs sounded like a winner, but the seasoning was overpowering, powdery and aggressive. The experiment was short-lived. Next, Lifesavers holes. A small idea with a big problem. What is a lifesaver without its hole? Apparently, a choking hazard. The holes were small, hard, and perfectly throat-sized. Reports of choking surfaced almost immediately. The public outcry forced a massive recall, a reminder that safety beats novelty. Fruit Brute joined Count Chocula's gang, but by the early 80s, fruit cereals saturated the aisle, and Fruit Brute couldn't stand out. Flavor redundancy meant consolidation, and the wolf was sacrificed. PB Max was genuinely delicious, racking up $50 million in sales. But legend says the Mars family disapproved and pulled it. The Reggie bar enjoyed a hype launch, but the product itself was unremarkable. Hype faded and the bar struck out. Squeeze-Its were a lunchbox staple, fun, messy, and for years beloved by kids. But the health-conscious turn and sugar concerns led to their decline. Squeeze-It was discontinued in 2001. Next up, Oatmeal Swirlers, an edible art project that didn't stick. Oatmeal Swirlers came with a jelly paint pouch so kids could draw on hot oatmeal. A fun 5 minutes, messy thereafter. The jelly often dispensed in frustrating globs. Once the art was over, you were left with oatmeal. Cheetos Paws linked snack shape to mascot. Kids loved the novelty, but shape altered texture and crunch. A detailed shape changes texture and production cost. The novelty didn't justify the trade-offs. Crystal Pepsi's purity message was undercut by competitor moves like Tab Clear. Confusion killed both. Some insiders say Tab Clear was a kamikaze product to sink Crystal Pepsi. Whether true or not, both failed. Jell-O tried turning pudding into a shelf-stable roll-up. Great idea for fruit, terrible idea for pudding. Pringles Prince printed trivia on chips. Clever but hard to read and interrupted snack flow. It was a gimmick. Consumers preferred their chips without a side of homework. Keebler Magic Middles. Delicious. Then gone without official explanation. Keebler Magic Middles delivered a gooey surprise. Kids loved them, but they vanished in the late 90s. Speculation says the injection process was costly or margins fell. Kraft never officially explained. Dunkaroos launched in 1990 and were a solid hit, but not as iconic as an Oreo at first. Millennial nostalgia and social media transformed Dunkaroos into a modern comeback success. Pac-Man cereal rode the video game craze, a perfect tie-in while the mania lasted. Video game fads burned bright and fast. When kids moved to the next thing, the cereal's popularity faded. Yoplate's custard-style yogurt mimicked pudding, but it was overly gelatinous and confused consumers. It wasn't quite yogurt and not quite pudding. It occupied a strange middle ground and quietly disappeared. And there you have it, 25 ghosts of the grocery aisle. Did you ever try any of these? Head to the comments and tell us.